They say love doesn't choose sides, but what if the person you fell for was the reason your family lost everything? I'll tell you a story of secrets, betrayal, and a love that wasn't supposed to happen. So stay with me till the very end, because what you're about to hear isn't just about love. It's about what happens when the heart finds home in the enemy's arms. Now, let me tell you how it all began. Elena adjusted her worn-out jacket as she stepped off the bus. The cold morning air bit her cheeks, but she barely felt it. Her eyes were fixed on the mansion ahead, tall gates, marble walls, and windows so clean they looked like mirrors. This was the Cole estate, the house of one of the most powerful families in the city, the family her mother told her never to cross. But when her mother got sick and the hospital bills began piling up, Elena had no choice. She applied as a maid. She needed the job, even if it meant working for the people her mother always spoke about with quiet fear. The guard scanned her ID, then nodded her in. "You're the new maid? Good. Mr. Cole doesn't like delays." Inside, everything smelled like money, polished wood, perfume, and silence. She was led to the grand hall where a tall man stood near the window, his suit perfectly cut, his eyes cold and unreadable. Adrian Cole, the billionaire himself. When his gaze met hers, something strange flickered in his eyes. For a moment, he looked as though he'd seen her before. "You're Elena?" he asked. His voice was deep, calm, but carried weight. "Yes, sir." He studied her face a little too long before turning away. "You'll be working on the east wing. Don't touch anything in my study. Understood?" She nodded quickly. As she walked away, her heart pounded. There was something unsettling about him, not just his presence, but the feeling that somehow fate had led her right where she was meant to be. Days turned into weeks, and Elena began to learn the rhythms of the mansion, who left early, who stayed quiet, and most importantly, who to avoid. Adrian Cole was one of those people. He moved like a shadow through his own home, always on the phone, always talking business. But sometimes, when he thought no one was watching, she saw something else. A man staring out the window like he was trapped behind invisible walls. One evening, as Elena dusted the large study she was told never to enter, she heard footsteps behind her. "You're not supposed to be here." She froze, his voice. Adrian was standing by the door, his tie loosened, a glass of whiskey in his hand. For a moment, the sight of him made her forget to breathe. I'm sorry, sir." The other maids. He raised a hand, stopping her apology. "It's fine. Just don't go through the drawers." Elena nodded, keeping her eyes down, but as she turned to leave, he spoke again. "What's your name?" "Elena." "Just Elena?" She hesitated. "Yes, sir." He took a slow sip, studying her face again, the same way he did the first day. "You look familiar," he said quietly, more to himself than to her, "like someone I used to know." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. His words echoed in her head. Why would a man like Adrian Cole think he knew her? The next morning, Elena was cleaning the west hallway when she stopped in front of a large framed portrait. It showed a man and a woman, younger, smiling, standing beside a little girl. The woman's face looked like her mother. Elena stepped closer, her heart racing. The little girl had the same brown eyes she saw in the mirror every day. She didn't notice Adrian walking up behind her. "You like that picture?" he asked softly. Elena jumped, almost dropping her cleaning cloth. "Oh, I was just looking." He stood beside her, staring at the painting. "That was my father." The woman was his business partner's wife. They used to be close, until everything fell apart. "What happened?" she asked before she could stop herself. Adrian's jaw tightened. "A betrayal," he said, "one that destroyed both families." Elena's throat went dry. "Destroyed both?" He nodded slowly, his voice lowering. "That little girl disappeared after a fire broke out at their estate. Some said she died. Others said she ran away." He turned to look at Elena, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Why are you pale?" She forced a shaky smile. "Just tired, sir." But inside, her heart was screaming because her mother once told her the same story about a fire, a betrayal, and a little girl who should have died that night. Her. Elena tried to avoid Adrian after the portrait incident. Every time she saw him, her pulse raced, not just from attraction, but from fear. If her suspicions were true, she was working in the very house built from her family's pain. But fate had other plans. One rainy evening, as thunder rolled across the city, Adrian came home drenched. The other maids were gone for the night, and Elena was closing the kitchen windows when he walked in. "You're still here?" he asked, surprised. "I was finishing up, sir." "Adrian," he corrected gently. Just Adrian. The sound of her name on his lips sent a strange warmth through her. She brought him a towel. "You shouldn't stay wet for long. You'll catch a cold." A soft smile curved on his face. "You sound like someone who cares." She looked away. "It's just good manners." But when his hand brushed hers as he took the towel, the air shifted. Silence stretched between them, filled with something neither could name. For the first time, Adrian wasn't the cold, unreachable man everyone feared. He was human, tired, lonely, and staring at her like she was the only light in his dark house. "Thank you, Elena," he said quietly. Her heart fluttered. "Good night, Adrian." The next day, curiosity gnawed at Elena. She couldn't stop thinking about the painting or his words about the lost girl. When Adrian left for a meeting, she slipped into the forbidden study again. The room smelled of old books and leather. She wiped her palms on her apron and opened a small cabinet near the desk. Inside was a dusty wooden box. On it, faint letters spelled out a name she recognized instantly: Clara Vance, her mother's name. Elena's knees went weak. She opened the box carefully, revealing letters, photographs, and documents. One of them, a birth certificate, hers. But under her birth name, someone had scratched out the surname and rewritten Cole. She covered her mouth, trembling. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Adrian, panicking, she closed the box and slid it back into place, stepping away just as he entered. He looked at her, suspicious. "What are you doing here?" I was dusting." He frowned but didn't press further. "You shouldn't be in here alone. There are things in this room that bring back memories I'd rather forget." "I'm sorry," she whispered, avoiding his eyes. He sighed softly and touched her shoulder. "Just don't keep secrets from me, Elena." "I hate secrets." Her heart cracked a little at that, because she was now carrying the biggest one of all. That night, Adrian called her name softly from the balcony. She found him standing there, looking at the city lights below. "I shouldn't ask you this," he said, voice rough from something deeper than alcohol. "But how do you stay so calm in this place? Everyone here wants something: power, money, control, but you're different." She smiled faintly. "Because I know what it's like to have nothing." He turned toward her, the wind brushing his hair. "Maybe that's why I can't stop thinking about you." Her breath caught. He stepped closer. "You make me feel something I haven't felt in years. Peace." Before she could respond, he leaned in, slowly, uncertainly, until their lips met. The kiss was gentle, almost hesitant, like both of them were afraid it would break whatever fragile thing had grown between them. When they pulled away, she whispered, "Adrian, this can't—" "Don't say it," he murmured, pressing his forehead against hers. "For once, let's just forget who we are." But even as his arms wrapped around her, her mind screamed the truth she could no longer ignore. She wasn't just a maid. She was the heir to everything his family had stolen. The next morning, the mansion was restless. Staff rushed around polishing every surface and setting out expensive wine. Elena, one of the older maids, whispered, "Mr. Cole's father is coming home today. The old man hasn't been here in years." Her heart sank. His father, the man her mother used to curse in her sleep. By noon, black cars rolled through the gates. An older man stepped out, silver hair, sharp eyes, and a presence that silenced the air. When Elena bowed to greet him, his stare lingered too long. "You're new," he said slowly. "What's your name?" "Elena, sir." His expression darkened. "You look like someone I knew." Adrian stepped in. "Father, don't start. She's one of the staff." His father smirked. "Staff? You've never defended a maid before." Adrian's jaw tightened. "Let's go inside." Elena lowered her head, but she could feel the weight of the old man's gaze burning into her back. She didn't know it yet, but he had already begun to suspect the truth. That evening, Adrian found her sitting quietly in the garden. "You've been quiet since my father arrived," he said. "Did he say something to you?" She shook her head. "No, I just don't like being watched." He knelt beside her, his tone softening. "I know he can be intense, but I promise, I won't let him bother you." His words should have comforted her, but they didn't, because deep down she knew his father wasn't the problem. The truth was, "I'm fine, Adrian," she whispered. "No," he said firmly. "You're not." His hand brushed her cheek, gentle but sure. "If something's wrong, tell me. I'll fix it." Her throat tightened. "You can't fix this," she wanted to say. Instead, she whispered, "Some things can't be fixed, Adrian, not even by love." He stared at her, confused, but before he could ask, the old man's voice echoed from the balcony above. "Adrian, we need to talk. Now." Their moment shattered like glass. The next morning, Elena was summoned to the main hall. Mr. Cole Sr. sat at the table, holding an old envelope. Adrian stood beside him, tense. "Do you know this woman?" the old man asked, sliding a photograph across the table. Elena froze. It was her mother, younger but unmistakable. Her heart raced. "I don't know her." The old man's eyes narrowed. "Don't lie to me. I never forget a face." Adrian frowned. "Father, what's going on?" Mr. Cole Sr. stood. "That woman, Clara Vance, was once my partner's wife. And this girl," he pointed at the photograph, "she disappeared after the fire that destroyed everything." He turned his sharp gaze back to Elena. "You have her eyes." Adrian looked at her, confusion and disbelief crossing his face. "Elena, what's he talking about?" Her lips trembled. She could barely find her voice. "Adrian, please. I didn't come here to hurt you." "Hurt me? What are you saying?" "I'm the girl from that fire," she finally whispered. "I'm Clara Vance's daughter." The silence that followed was heavy. Adrian took a slow step back, his face pale. "That means," she nodded, "I'm the rightful heir to what your family took." Adrian couldn't speak. He just stared at her as if the world had cracked beneath his feet. The woman he had begun to love was the daughter of the man his father had destroyed. His father laughed bitterly. "Fate is cruel, isn't it? The child of my enemy, living under my roof, stealing my son's heart." "Enough," Adrian snapped. "You destroyed her family. Don't you dare blame her." Mr. Cole Sr. smirked. "And yet, she hid who she was. That's betrayal, son. You can't trust her." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know the full truth until I found that box in your study. I swear it." Adrian looked at her, hurt, torn, and silent. "You should have told me. I wanted to, but I didn't want to lose you." He turned away, his voice breaking. "You already have." Elena's chest ached. She wanted to scream, to explain, but words couldn't fix what bloodlines had broken. As she walked out of the mansion that night, rain pouring around her, she looked back once. Adrian stood by the window, watching her leave. Neither of them moved. Two hearts in love, torn apart by sins they didn't commit. Days turned into a blur after Elena left the Cole mansion. She found a small apartment near the hospital where her mother lay sleeping, hooked to machines that hummed softly through the night. She watched her mother's fragile hands and whispered, "Why didn't you tell me who we really were?" Her mother stirred, her voice weak. "Because, my love, Knowing the truth doesn't always heal. Sometimes it breaks you more. Tears filled Elena's eyes. They stole everything from us. Her mother looked away. Yes, but if you seek revenge, you'll lose yourself too. That night, Elena opened the dusty box she had taken from the mansion before she left. Inside, among the papers, was a letter, her father's handwriting. If you are reading this, it means I didn't make it out. Clara, protect her. Never let her near the Coles. They will destroy her the way they destroyed me. Her fingers trembled as she read the final line. The empire they built was ours first. The truth hit harder than any heartbreak. She wasn't just the lost daughter, she was the rightful heir to everything Adrian's father owned. But even as the anger burned in her, her heart ached for the one man who didn't deserve her hatred. Adrian hadn't been the same since she left. Meetings piled up, deals collapsed, and his father's sharp remarks cut deeper than usual. See what love does to you, Adrian, his father scoffed. She used you, just like her family used ours. But Adrian wasn't listening anymore. The more he thought about Elena, the more the pieces didn't fit. Her pain had been real. Her words weren't lies. He opened the same box she once found in the study, reading the old documents for the first time, company contracts, letters, and a signed confession from his father's lawyer. His chest tightened. The empire really did belong to her family. He slammed the papers down, fury shaking his hands. You lied to me, he growled. His father sighed, unfazed. I did what was necessary. Her father wanted to destroy me. You ruined them, Adrian's voice broke. You burned their home. You. Enough, the old man barked. That girl is our enemy. Don't let your feelings cloud your mind. But it was too late. Adrian's mind was already made up. He would find Elena, not as a Cole, but as a man who wanted to make things right. Elena was returning from the hospital when she saw him standing by the gate of her apartment building. Adrian. His expensive suit was soaked from the rain, just like the first night they'd met. Elena, he said softly, please don't walk away. She froze. Why are you here? To tell you the truth, the whole truth. He handed her the documents. The ones from his father's study. You were right. Everything your family lost was stolen. Her breath caught. You believe me now? He nodded. I should have believed you from the start. Tears filled her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't care who you are, Elena. I care about you. She shook her head, heart torn. Adrian, this can't work. Our families started a war we didn't choose, he said firmly. Let's end it differently. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. Small, fragile, but real. And when he took her hand, it wasn't as a billionaire and a maid. It was just two people who'd lost everything, except each other. The next morning, the news broke. Cole Industries faces scandal. Ownership papers reveal hidden heir. Adrian's father raged, throwing the newspaper across the room. You did this. I told the truth, Adrian replied coldly, and I won't apologize for it. He walked out, leaving behind a legacy built on lies. Later that evening, Adrian met Elena in the small garden behind her mother's hospital. The empire is yours now, he said quietly. I made sure the papers were corrected. Elena looked at him, her heart breaking and healing all at once. Then what about you? He smiled faintly. I'll be fine. Maybe for once I can live without guilt. She stepped closer, tears streaming. You don't have to lose everything to make things right. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. Maybe I already found what matters most. As the rain began to fall again, they stood there. No titles, no family names, just two souls who fought against history itself. The mansion that once divided them stood silent on the hill, its windows reflecting the storm. But this time, it wasn't destruction burning in the distance. It was the light of something new, a love that survived where hatred had once reigned. Owning the empire her father built should have felt like victory. But as Elena sat in the tall glass office that once belonged to Adrian's father, all she felt was emptiness. The boardroom was quiet except for the clicks of cameras from the press outside. Her name, Elena Vance Cole, now appeared on every headline. The maid who became the heiress, the daughter who reclaimed the throne. She didn't want the power, she wanted peace. But peace didn't come easily when the world watched, waiting for her to fail. Adrian's father had disappeared after the scandal broke. Rumors said he was hiding overseas, but deep down, Elena knew better. Men like him didn't disappear, they planned. And whatever he was planning, it would come back to destroy her. It started with small things. A black car parked outside her apartment for hours. Anonymous calls that ended when she picked up. Files missing from the company system. Then one night, her mother's nurse called. "Miss Vance, someone tried to enter the hospital room." Elena's hands trembled. "Is she safe?" "Yes, security stopped them, but they left this." The nurse held up a note written in bold ink. "You took everything from me. Now I'll take it back." Elena's blood ran cold. She knew that handwriting. Mr. Cole Sr. Before she could react, a knock came at her door. She turned, and there was Adrian. "Elena," he said urgently, "I've been looking for you. My father's gone too far this time. You're not safe." She stared at him, her fear melting into relief. "You knew?" He nodded grimly. "He's desperate. He'll try to ruin you. Or worse." She stepped closer, tears glistening. "Then stay with me." He exhaled. "You think I could ever leave again?" He took her in his arms, and for a moment the world outside didn't exist. But in the shadowed streets below, a car idled, watching, waiting. The next morning, the chaos began. Mr. Cole Sr. released falsified documents claiming Elena forged her inheritance. The media erupted, investors panicked, and her company's stocks plummeted overnight. Adrian stormed into the press room, standing beside her before the cameras. "She didn't forge anything," he declared. "She's the rightful heir, and I have proof." He placed the original, signed confession from his father's lawyer on the podium. The cameras flashed wildly. By the time the sun set, police had issued an arrest warrant for Mr. Cole Sr. for fraud, arson, and decades-old corporate crimes. When they found him hiding in one of his old estates, he was no longer the proud man who once ruled the city. He was broken, defeated by the same truth he'd spent his life burying. Before he was taken away, he looked at his son with hollow eyes. "You chose her over your own blood." Adrian's voice was steady. "No, father, I chose what was right." Elena watched quietly, her heart heavy. Justice was served. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like an ending. Weeks later, the city had moved on, but Elena hadn't. She visited the old mansion one last time, the house where she'd once been a maid and where her life had changed forever. Dust clung to the chandeliers and silence filled the halls. Adrian found her standing by the same window where they'd first met. He smiled softly. "You're not wearing your office look today." She turned, smiling faintly. "Maybe I wanted to remember who I was before all this." He walked closer. "You mean the woman who cleaned my study and stole my heart?" She laughed softly. "That one." He reached out, holding her hands. "Elena, I don't care about titles, companies, or bloodlines. I care about us. If you'll still have me." Her heart ached with warmth. "After everything? You still want me?" He nodded. "Especially after everything." Outside, the sky began to glow with evening light, soft, golden, peaceful. She leaned in, and this time, when their lips met, it wasn't forbidden. It was freedom. Two people once torn apart by family feuds, now bound together by a love that survived them all. They were never meant to meet, yet destiny made them collide. Sometimes love isn't about where you come from, it's about who you become together. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, do you believe love can heal even the deepest betrayals?